Okay, we are live. Welcome in, everybody. Bitcoin is looking really good right now. We've been here before. So we got to proceed with caution, where we've come up to a very bullish looking structure up against the resistance. But I think the sellers are exhausted at this point. Sentiment is beginning to flip, and it looks like we might even hit some of our targets here live on the stream that would flip our bias 100% back to bullish. So without any further ado, let's get into things here. We're taking a look at Bitcoin here on the daily. We have been inside this downward sloping channel. We've got some interesting areas to note. So how I established this channel is we have our high, we have our shakeout low up to our retest high. So that kind of sets the range for the channel. Not only that, but we actually got a liquidity grab down here. This is in Wyckoff, we refer to this as a spring. And what you want to see with a spring is immediately after the spring going into a sign of strength, which we got, which is a break of structure, a new high, getting out of the consolidation. That came into a beautiful double bottom backup phase, and now we are trending up. Not only that, but we are at the beginning of a new month. We just got a nice bullish daily candle close with a new daily candle high. And this candle here, which is a new candle, we have 21 hours left in this candle, is indicating to me that we could confirm our breakout point. So the breakout point is two things. It is this local high. We need to get above this local high. But then also here on the alphanumerics indicator, a price of $72,101.45 would be the point at which we flip our bias. So our bull market indicator is red, indicating that momentum is low and we are bearish on the price. But as soon as price touches 72.1, we are going to flip back to green. We're going to be back to bullish. So that's fantastic. That's exactly what we want to see. Let's get rid of some of these drawings here. And yeah, so Bitcoin has broken the downward sloping line, the downward sloping channel, and successfully retested. A break of 72 will confirm and retest the result of a nice breakout. So we shared this chart in the private group. If you guys aren't already in the private group, it is free to join. All you do is scan the QR code and that'll get you into our free trading Discord. All you need to do to gain access to the VIP material is you need to sign up with one of our partner exchanges, make a small deposit. That's your money. It's for you to trade with. It's just kind of to show us that you do intend to use the account. And then share your UID in the Discord and we'll get you up and running and in the VIP channel so that you can trade alongside us. We've had some pretty good success. I have been very quiet. Basically, for all of last month, I don't think I posted much at all. I don't think I posted any trade setups last month. I didn't post anything leaning towards the bullish side all of last month. May was a very slow month. We didn't see anything to get us too excited about May, but this move right here, very healthy, very healthy. And with the trend that we're seeing here on the daily, it's looking like continuation is in the cards here for Bitcoin. If we do get a breakout and break past the high here, that's going to be a brand new all-time high for Bitcoin. Let's actually zoom out here. That'll be a brand new all-time high. Let's go to the weekly chart. Trying something new today with the lead in. Usually I have a 10-minute wait while I wait for people to get into the live stream. I only stream on YouTube now. I was streaming on Twitch, which is why I was doing the 10-minute lead in. Let me know if you guys prefer this. I know it's not great for those who join in live, but it's a lot better for those who watch the replay. So let me know if you prefer that style of content or if you want me to have continue doing the 10-minute lead in. But look at this chart. It is gorgeous, gorgeous. If we get a weekly close above this weekly high at 71,250, we're off to the races. I'm finally back to bullish. I would have preferred a longer consolidation. I would have preferred us to continue to chop for a little while. I know that's not what everybody wants to hear, but you know, the longer you trade sideways, the larger the cause that is built for the next extension targets high. But, you know, Bitcoin has been incredibly bullish this entire bull market, and most of the market is kind of unaware. Like if you go and talk to your friends, families, and neighbors and ask them about Bitcoin, what's going to be their response? They're going to say, oh, isn't that thing that scam that so-and-so went to jail for, and now it's dumped and it's down way bad? Nobody realizes, the general public doesn't realize that Bitcoin is actually at the highest price it's ever been. So the new wave of new users has not hit the market yet. We don't have new participants coming in, and yeah, we got a lot more upside in the future here, in my opinion. We could definitely continue to rally for the rest of the year, and then maybe another consolidation for 2025, but things are looking good. Let's catch up with the chat here. Hey there, can we take a look at Gari Network? We will take a look at some of the smaller caps later on in the show. Crypto Keep, hello, welcome in. All right, let's take a look. Let's take a look at how altcoins are doing. So that's kind of a nice segue. There's a few different ways that you can look at altcoins. We've done shows in the past where we explain Bitcoin dominance and its relation to altcoin performance. But right now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to overlay two different charts to show where the performance lies. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the plus button here on TradingView. We're going to add total 2. And we're going to add total 3. Okay, so total 2 is in orange, total 3 is in cyan or blue. And then we're going to go down to the bottom corner, and I like to just do a year's worth of price action. How are we doing on the year? Not year to date, we can take a look at that as well, but how are we doing on a year's worth of price action? And what you can see is Bitcoin is still the dominant player. So Bitcoin's price is up 161% with a year's worth of price action. And total market 2, which is the entire cryptocurrency market cap excluding Bitcoin, is up 108, and total 3 is also up 108%. So we're seeing things begin to catch up, but it's not until the point at which total 2 and total 3 surpass the performance of Bitcoin that you're really going to start to see an altcoin season. A lot of people think that altcoins move all the time. They don't. You know, if you're watching channels that have been shilling altcoins thus far, with the exception of new projects, like we've been talking a lot about ordinals, and we've been doing very well in the ordinal BRC20 and TAP ecosystem. But I'm talking about altcoins like in the top 20, top 50, even top 100 altcoins have not really shown an outperformance of the market just yet. And it's because their time to shine is very, very short. It's a matter of months. Every 4 years, you get a short window of time where alts really begin to outperform. We're approaching that. We're getting close to that. It hasn't quite happened yet. We haven't seen that significant outperformance in the altcoin space just yet, but we're getting very, very close to that. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the Bitcoin dominance chart as well. So we'll head on over to BTC.D. And this is an interesting chart. Here on the daily, I like to look at this one on the weekly, and I like to look at just pure price action. I don't put alphanumerics on here. And we're still inside of this consolidation. As long as we continue in this uptrend, Bitcoin is going to continue to be the ruler of price action. As long as Bitcoin is trending higher here, A, altcoins are not going to really outperform, and B, altcoin performance is going to be entirely dependent upon Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin rallies, the alts will play catch up. If Bitcoin dumps, the alts will dump harder. It's only at the point at which we either break out of this consolidation to the downside, and even better, get below this line, below 50%, and start trending to the downside, that Bitcoin no longer really rules the show here. It's not going to be dependent upon Bitcoin as to whether alts are going to outperform. You're going to see alts rally when Bitcoin's trading sideways. You're going to see alts do dump when Bitcoin dumps. Don't get me wrong. When Bitcoin takes a move down, the altcoins always take a harder move down, but you're going to start to see their recoveries happen sooner, and you're going to see their rallies happen at much higher price projections, much higher targets. Okay. Let's take a look at ETH BTC. We've been watching this one for a while. We have still not broken the downtrend. This is another indicator of the rotation into altcoins. We got a beautiful, huge move up on the ETF news for Ethereum, but we did not break our key downward sloping line of resistance that we have been watching for 2 years. Until this line is broken, and price stays above, retests and holds above, we're not going to be in an altcoin season. So we need to see Ethereum BTC get above, hold the line, and begin to overtake some of these levels. If we can reclaim these levels, then we are off to the races with alts and Ethereum. But Ethereum has been really underperforming. One asset that has not been underperforming, there's always going to be outliers, is Solana. So Solana is doing incredibly well. We can actually overlay Bitcoin on the Solana chart. Let's add Bitcoin over. And let's go back to a year in frame. And you can see Bitcoin's up 175%. And Solana's up 694%. So there are going to be outliers, and we did share some of these market alpha assets in the private group. If you guys, again, if you're not in the private group, scan the QR code. It's free. It's 100% free. It will always be free. What's the catch? We need you to trade on the exchanges that we're partnered with. That's the only catch that we have with our Discord. But we feel that it's a good way to have incentives aligned. The more successful your account becomes, the more commissions we are able to earn. So there's aligned incentives. We want you to do well. We want you to crush the market. We're not in the business of liquidating little minnow accounts. We make all of our money on whale accounts. We make all of our money with successful traders. So we want you guys to succeed. Let's take Bitcoin off of the chart here. And yeah, Solana's just been beautiful. Let's turn Alpha Numerics on just for a moment. We're above all of the moving averages. We're above the 50, we're above the 30, we're above the 7 on the daily chart. Let's see how we're doing here on the weekly. We're above the 7 on the weekly. If you want to know, if you're kind of a long-term swing trader, I think the most impactful moving average for healthy trend, there's actually two, but for healthy continued trend is the 7-week. And then for the bull market being over, I would say it's the 20-week. So if you're just looking for two very simple moving averages that you can employ on your sheet, we try to keep things really, really simple. You can get analysis paralysis if you have a million indicators. One indicator saying bullish, the other indicator saying bearish, and there's a lot of fluff out there. When you're on the higher time frames like the weekly, keep it simple. All you're analyzing is trend over a long period of time. So having a weekly 7 and a weekly 20 is a very effective tool. Let's actually build that. Let's show you what that is. You don't need our premium indicator. You don't need Alpha Numerics. You can just go to indicators, go to moving average. We don't need moving average cross. Why don't we do moving average cross? Sure, why not? Moving average cross, and we're going to change that from, oh, that's just moving average price cross. We don't want that. Let's go MA. cross. There we go. We'll change this to the 7 and we'll change this to the 20. You can see there's a lot of strategies that, you know, out of the box kind of mirror that similar sort of trend analysis. Right out of the box, MA cross started at 9 and 21. I use 7 and 20. The reason I use the 7 is because when you're looking at the daily chart, you're looking at the weekly price, 7 days in a week, right? So you got 7 days in a week. It's the weekly price when you're on the daily. But yeah, as long as price stays on top, you're in a healthy trend. And when you break that line, it will often come down somewhere around the 20 week and you'll get a bounce. Let's go to Bitcoin on this and kind of show you how that trend plays out over a longer period of time. And you can see these crosses here, you know, bear market, we came down, we got below the 7, stayed below the 20, and we got rejected every time we got to the 20, rejected. And then when the 7 crossed above the 20, we got a beautiful rally that resulted in a 34% move. We got it again over here. Let's say you got the worst price possible and you're still at 100% up. So very powerful, those two moving averages. A very simple strategy. Simple is often best, in my opinion, specifically with long-term trades in volatile assets like cryptocurrencies. Let's see what we got here. Farmer BTC1 with new financial instruments. Alts should really be paired with one of the 2x BTC ETFs like Bitu, much lower fees than leverage BTC. Much less fees with lower fees than leverage BTC. Why can't I understand that comment? But yeah, 2x BTC, 2x is very safe leverage. And if you're on an ETF, you don't get liquidated, you get margin called, which is kind of unique to the stock world that we don't have in crypto. In crypto, there is zero leverage on the system. So the moment at which you can no longer support your contract, you're liquidated. So there's no debt in the system. Whereas with the traditional financial instruments, there is debt in the system. So when you get a margin call, it means that you owe the exchange money. So they allow for debt. Debt has its pros and cons, but you know, I prefer the way that we do things in crypto where there's no debt in the system. Okay, let's get rid of moving average cross, and let's take a look at Bangbox. So Bangbox is our strategy. I may as well let you guys know that Bangbox is coming back online, and it's couldn't come at a more perfect time. It couldn't come at a more perfect time because we are about to flip the wave back to green. So when the wave is red, let me clean this up a little bit. When the alphanumerics wave is red, Bangbox is turned off. It's a long only strategy. It is a long only scalping strategy that we use for coin margin. You can use it on tether margin as well, but we use it for coin margin. And it's long only. It doesn't really work well when you're trying to short. So when the market is showing bearishness, we just turn that bot off. And then when it goes back to green, when it goes back to bullish, we go back into turning it back on so that you can get those high velocity scalps that Bitcoin can put out quite a few of those. And a successful scalp on Bangbox will give you 20%. And we'll do that a few times a week. So let's say a couple times a month, we get a few successful scalps. Let's say you get 5 in a month. You make 100% on your account once a month. Obviously market dependent. But since we launched Bangbox, it is up 154%. We have 1.55 BTC. If you put one Bitcoin into Bangbox in the beginning of February of this year, you now have 2.55 BTC. So and this is only with 50% profitable. 50% profitable. A lot of people think that TA is a way for you to predict the future and always be on the winning side of the trade. It's not. It is not. It is about managing risk so that when you're wrong, you don't lose a lot of money. And when you're right, you make a lot of money. If I gave you, if I offered you 2-to-1 odds on a coin flip is theoretically 50%. If I offer you 2-to-1 odds on a coin flip, that's a really good deal because I'll flip that coin 1,000,000 times and you'll make a ton of money. You don't need to have like 90% profitable. Those bots are usually scams. They're usually just flashy, good marketable things. We do very, very well with 50% profitable trades because our risk is so closely mitigated. All right, we can put that away. Let's turn alphanumerics off. These didn't actually. Bangbox is not on, so we may as well just keep that off. But yeah, let's take a look at some other assets. Let's take a look at ETH on the dollar pair. Beautiful, beautiful move on the dollar pair. It's not showing an outperformance in Bitcoin just yet, but on the USD, ETH is starting to present itself with a really bullish structure. Let's actually go over to the 3-day. This structure is very nice. This is a very healthy structure. And again, if we can take out these highs, we can take out these highs and get above the $4,000 mark, ETH will probably continue to rally. And it's that continuation and market exuberance that will allow for the price of ETH to begin to outperform Bitcoin. I know it's misleading. This chart looks so beautiful. How could Ethereum not be outperforming Bitcoin? But when you look at Bitcoin dominance, when you look at the ETH BTC pair, you can see when you look at ETH over the year and Bitcoin over the year, you can see that it hasn't been outperforming. But yeah, it's looking really, really good here. So we're getting really close to altcoin season, and altcoin season is when things get very exciting. With this price trends in BTC, what's BTC's price prediction as per the chart where BTC will top out this cycle and when? Kumar, this is a question that does not actually have an answer. I know that's not what you want to hear. When people go on Twitter or people do YouTube shows that do price predictions, they're fun, but they ultimately are just pulling a number out of thin air. It's the price projection that I can give you is pretty useless. It doesn't have much meaning at all because I anticipate Bitcoin to get to $250,000 to $1.2 million this cycle. That's not very helpful. In fact, that's ridiculous. And when I say that 1.2 million, I kind of hurt my reputation because people think, oh, what, 1.2 million? That's ridiculous. That's never going to happen. It's an unlikely probability, but it's absolutely a probability. Everything in trading is about balancing the probabilities and the possibilities. I think $250,000 Bitcoin this cycle is a high probability, so high that we actually have higher targets. And as far as those targets can go, if all of the things align, if we have more ETFs in more countries, if we get more countries using it as a currency like El Salvador, if we have a DeFi on Bitcoin, which I firmly believe is going to happen this cycle, we are getting very close to DeFi on Bitcoin. If a lot of the supply is taken off of the exchanges, we're already at an incredibly low supply on the exchanges. If all of these things line up, it's going to be feasible to get to $1 million a coin. Sounds ridiculous, I know, and I'm not waiting for $1 million before I start selling. We use other metrics to determine when to sell. You cannot predict the future. You can only interpret the price action that you have right in front of you. So let me show you how that works. Let's go back over to Bitcoin. Let's go to the weekly, and let's turn alphanumerics back on. How you determine when to exit is based off of the moving averages and our wave, our proprietary wave here. We've got a green wave and it turns red, green, depending on if we're bullish or bearish. So what I need to see is a few check marks. Check mark number one, we need to be in all-time high territory. We need to be in a healthy above the 7 trend that is higher than the previous cycle. So let me show you what that looks like. So here's the prior cycle high. We need to be above the 7, trending very bullish, like a very exuberant bull market where sentiment is very positive and price action is very positive. We need to be above the 7. And then we need to get to the point where price crashes and causes our wave to flip from green to red. This point right here. So over exuberant market, where you have a lot of market participants with positive sentiment, we are above and rallied clear above the previous all-time highs, and we're above the 7 and we flip to a red. That's going to be your sell point. So let me show you, let's get the vertical line here. Is it option V? Yes, option V. So we go to that transition point from green to red. That would have got you out of Bitcoin at $55,000. You would have then gone back into Bitcoin at $40,000, and then you would have gotten out of Bitcoin again at $58,000. So the point I'm trying to make here is price prediction is pointless. The trend is your friend until it ends. You may have heard this saying in markets, the trend is your friend until it ends. So as long as we are rallying, as long as we are making higher highs and higher lows, as long as we are staying above the weekly 7, as long as all of those things are showing positive price action, we will continue to climb. We will climb to a $250,000 Bitcoin. We will continue to climb to a $500,000 Bitcoin. And if all things continue to be bullish, we can climb to $1 million per coin. It's only at the point of the shift where you get below the 7 and you dump down and you change the position of the wave from green to red, that you're going to start offloading. And whatever price that is the price that it is. We can't predict the future. We can only look at the present. So we don't have that information right now. What I recommend is get into the Discord, because we're going to be sharing all of this information for free. Get into the Discord. Register with one of our partner exchanges. Currently partnered with 2Bit, BitGet, and we are about to onboard Blowfin. And then make a small deposit and you are in for life. You don't get to, it's very simple. We want people to succeed, but we do want to collect a small commission with the information that we are exchanging for free in that Discord server. So where would we be looking at right now? We need to get above the cycle highs. There was a double top on this high. And we need to be really bullish above the 7. When we're really bullish above the 7, rallying above the 7, and sentiment is getting very over exuberant, whatever price is at the point of the shift is when we get out. That can happen at $250,000. That can happen at $500,000. That can happen at $750,000. That can happen at any price. So don't believe people when they give you price predictions. Those are just estimated guesses. And my estimated guess is a range between $250,000 and 1.2. It's a ridiculous range that's not very helpful. What is your outlook on the economy for this year and the next year in general? And what is your opinion of the rise of gold and silver in recent months? Well, the rise of gold and silver is as a result of war. We are at war. When you're at war, people want that safe haven asset. That's gold and silver. We can take a look at those charts momentarily, but what do I think about the economy? It depends which economy you're talking about. The American economy and most Western economies are doing very poorly right now because people aren't spending, inflation's very high, and the growth, the GDP from those countries is very low. But there are other countries, there are a lot of places in Asia that are doing very, very well and having booming economies, as a lot of people are either running from war or running from Western culture you're bringing a lot of liquidity and you're bringing a lot of money and opportunity and building and infrastructure and, you know, all positive things that you need for GDP growth to other places. So what do I think about the American economy? I think the American economy is going to do poorly. What do I think about certain countries in Asia? I think certain countries in Asia are going to continue to do well. Vietnam's been doing very well. Indonesia's been doing very well. Thailand has been seeing an increase in their GDP as well. So, you know, the economies are not localized to the globe. They are individual economies. And I think Western economies are going to continue to suffer, which is why sentiment is so bearish usually coming out of those countries. And other countries have very positive sentiment towards financial markets. So, yeah, it just depends who you're talking to and where you're talking from, really. Just joined, would prefer the 10-minute lead in. All right, we will try that. We will keep going. It's not hard to fast forward to the vid, but I don't want to skip the live and miss something. Fair enough. Fair enough. If the Fed can print at infinitum, why can they not suppress price? Suppress price of what? Of Bitcoin? Because printing money doesn't suppress the price of Bitcoin. It only suppresses the price of Bitcoin if they bought Bitcoin first. You can only suppress Bitcoin if you own the asset. If you don't own Bitcoin, you can't suppress it. Printing money just makes the price of Bitcoin go up because of the comparative purchasing power. Bitcoin doesn't have a money printer, and the US does. So if they keep printing, the price of Bitcoin goes up because of the mathematical comparison between the two. If you have, 100 units and you double that to 200 units, now what cost 1 unit costs 2 units. So this is what Bitcoin tries to solve, is the printing problem that are coming from all of these, every country in the world. Every country in the world is printing, with the exception of some of the money supply in El Salvador, because some of the money supply in El Salvador is Bitcoin. The only way they can suppress is if they buy it, and I don't think they've bought enough to be able to suppress it. And if they're buying it, they're probably not going to want to suppress it. This is the game theory of Bitcoin. All right, let's take a look at gold. Gold, beautiful, beautiful breakout. Look at this weekly chart. Beautiful, beautiful weekly chart breakout. We are below the weekly 7. We are getting dangerously close to the bias flip. So I wouldn't be surprised, and this could happen in the context of equity markets rallying, if we come down and retest the upper end of the range before, shifting back over to a rally. But this is a beautiful breakout, beautiful sign of strength, and we absolutely do not need to come down to this level. We do not. But I wouldn't be surprised that in the context of equity rallies, which we are beginning to see, that we do something like that. Let's first, before we take a look at equities, let's take a look at the dollar. The dollar is continuing its downtrend back over to the line here, the lower end. This is the DXY, the dollar index. It is the dollar compared to other major currencies. It is heading in a decline. When this chart is heading in a decline, it is usually a bullish market condition for equities and assets. So let's take a look at equities. S&P above the 7 on the weekly, continuing to rally. It's broken out. It's going to continue to rally. This is something that when it has, after it's done a short consolidation, it just ticks. It just ticks to the upside. Tick, 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 tick. Heads to the upside, has a crash. The economy's dying, blah, 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 blah. And then it just continues to tick to the upside. So the S&P is looking very healthy. Equities are doing well. NASDAQ, same story, different chart. We don't need to dive into it too much. It's looking really good. Things are looking good. So if equity prices go up, and this is the beauty of Bitcoin. This is the beautiful thing about Bitcoin. In crisis, Bitcoin rallies. When the banking failures were happening with Silicon Valley Bank and a couple other bank scares, what did Bitcoin do? It rallied. What happened when we went to war? Short little dip in Bitcoin on the negative news and the negative sentiment, and then a V-shaped recovery. Bitcoin does well in crisis, and Bitcoin does well in comfort. So the cycles just play out every single time. I've been in this market for 3 cycles now. Every cycle is the same. It gets easier and easier and easier to trade Bitcoin. It's just until the market gets saturated with people that actually use and believe in Bitcoin, the cycles are seemingly programmed. I know that's kind of a meme, like, oh, this price is pre-programmed, but the cycle is almost emotionally programmed with humans. And because it's such a new asset and so many people don't understand it, even financial experts have no clue as to what the value proposition of Bitcoin is. Because there are so many people that don't know, the risk to reward for Bitcoin is just going to continue to rise. And it'll do well when the market's doing well, and it'll do well when the market is in crisis. It's just a matter of where are we placed in the market cycle. And when I look at the market cycle, we're right at the beginning of phase 2. We are exiting phase 1. Phase 1, for those who don't know, no, don't want that. I'll just draw it. This is phase 1, okay? Everybody in phase 1 was already here. Everybody in phase 1 is from the previous cycle, or they were paying attention in the previous cycle, and they are a savvy cohort that bought in on the bear market. But you don't have new money coming in. You don't have new optimism coming in, new liquidity, new participants. It's all pre-existing sentiment and pre-existing liquidity actually shifting and getting us back up to that all-time high level. Okay. Phase 2 is the positive sentiment shift, and that's when Bitcoin truly gets repriced. When a new cohort of the market comes in and not only accepts Bitcoin, but understands the value proposition, and you get a whole bunch of people coming in, the asset needs to be repriced. And how it gets repriced is usually in an over-exuberant way, and that's what we're shifting into right now. The fundamentals of Bitcoin are incredibly strong, and the market just takes time to wake up to that. Hey, JT, what I mean is the funding rates and fees will eat away at your profits over a long time frame. Yes, if you are holding leveraged positions for long durations of time, you're absolutely correct. You should take a 2x ETF. Don't take a futures trade. Don't take a margin trade, because the exchanges, basically their whole business model is funding. So they make so much money on funding. They bill you every 8 hours for the rights to an underlying asset. So if you're holding long-term leveraged positions, you're going to be getting eaten up quite a bit with margin. High leverage is much more appropriate for the short-term stuff. So if you're doing the long-term stuff, if you have a 2x ETF, then yes, you're not paying funding every 8 hours, and that's huge. That's massive. So definitely employ the use of those as opposed to traditional futures, traditional crypto futures model where you're getting billed every 8 hours. Okay. Let's take a look at some BRC20 tokens. These ones, if you don't understand what these are, then please do your own research. Please do your own due diligence. This is the part of the program where we talk about the innovative side of stuff. And the innovative stuff is not for the faint of heart. We've had serious retracements in BRC20s. We've had serious retracements in ordinals. And if you bought it thinking it was your ticket to Richtown immediately, then you've been pleasantly surprised with what the market can do when sentiment is shifted to the downside. These are very illiquid assets. And what I mean by that is, let's actually show you what I mean. I will pull up a chart, not a chart. I'll just show you ordinalswallet.com. We'll go to the market. Come on. Here we go. Oh, things are moving slow. Things are moving slow. And we'll go to the market. And we look at the volume, okay? We look at the volume. And 7-day volume in DOG is 5.6 Bitcoin. That is nothing. That is nothing. 5.6 Bitcoin, if you go to any centralized exchange, that is like 5 minutes of price action. No joke. That is 5 minutes. Not even, depending on like when the market's flat and boring, you'll churn 5.6 Bitcoin in 5 seconds in no time at all. DMT 0.7 of a Bitcoin in 1 week, in 7 days. This happens in a microsecond. These are not liquid. These are not liquid at all. When you have something that's not liquid, you have an opportunity for high price advance. But the inverse is also true. When you have something that's not liquid, prices can fall very, very aggressively. Okay, so I want to just put out that disclaimer first before we take a look at some of these assets. And I really want you to not only do your own research to the fundamentals of these projects, but really decide for yourself what is an appropriate allocation to something that has this much volatility and this little trading volume. Think too, like, you know, out of all of the market participants, only 5.6 Bitcoin were able to exit. So if you're a whale holding a ton of dog go to moon, you can't even exit the position because there's no buyers. If you don't have a buyer on the other side of the trade, guess what that token's worth? Zero. It's worth $0 because if you cannot sell it, it's not worth anything. So do take this warning seriously with your allocations. What do I recommend? 0.5%, maybe 2%, but nothing over 10% for any of these allocations. Nothing over 10% of your portfolio. It's just too risky. You could end up being a true bag holder because you will never be able to sell it because there's never going to be a buyer for it. That being said, Track is probably one of the strongest plays in the ordinal ecosystem, in my opinion, because this is basically the chain link of Bitcoin. This is indexing all of the ordinal data on Bitcoin, and it's doing it in a decentralized way. Currently, we have indexers coming from Unisat, and we have indexers coming from Ordinal's wallet, but those are centrally controlled services that are owned by a group of developers. Track currently also falls under that category of a centrally controlled database for indexing. What is indexing? It's keeping track of who owns what where, indexing the data. But what they're going to do is they're going to create an incentive through validator nodes. This is getting very nerdy. I apologize if you don't understand everything that I'm saying, but the long and short of it is they're creating an incentive so that people will maintain the state of the blockchain with just the incentive. So, you know, they're going to contribute computing power. They're going to contribute resources to the network, and in return, they will get a reward. That reward is going to be the TAP token, TAP token. And the governance token for this protocol is going to be Track. This is very similar to how Chainlink is able to take real world data and bring it into the blockchain. The number one piece of information that is coming from the real world into the blockchain is the price of the US dollar. This is how you can create stable coins. So this is setting the stage for DeFi on Bitcoin. If Track can accomplish what it is trying to accomplish, which it's very close to launching if it hasn't already launched. I think it's supposed to launch today or tomorrow. Yeah, it's June 5th. It's supposed to launch at some point today, the TAP protocol. That is going to allow for information to be indexed onto the blockchain and organization of the ordinals, organization of the data, and kind of, but not quite, create smart contracts. Smart contracts on Bitcoin. They're not going to be called smart contracts, but that's effectively what they will be. Very exciting stuff. And basically all you need to know in terms of price is as soon as price gets above this downward sloping line of resistance, we're off to the races. So it's illiquid when it's in this state, but when it's rallying, these assets become very liquid again. So take advantage of the liquidity. If you can't employ the same strategy that we talked about earlier, you know, when we talked about Bitcoin, it goes over and it breaks down and then you sell. You can't do that with a BRC20 token. You have to sell on the way up. That's my recommendation to you. You have to sell on the way up, only because on the way up is when it's most liquid. When it's on the way up, that's when people want to buy it. If you don't have a buyer, you cannot sell. So you have to sell on the way up. Sats, similar story. We actually did break this downward sloping line of resistance on Sats. We're way up on this one. We shared this in the private group. If you purchased Sats when we were talking about Sats, and I say purchase, but we actually minted, we created these things, you're up 3,100%. So if you want access to that kind of information, again, scan the QR code, partner with one of our exchanges, small deposit, and we will get you in. But yeah, so we're up 15%, 16% now since the latest call. But yeah, this is another one. This one's got a lot less utility. It's just one of the OGs, and it's kind of a meme coin on Bitcoin. Memes have been doing very well throughout the market as a whole. But yeah, it's one of the ones to watch out for. This one is definitely going to need a bull market to really outperform anything, and that's meme. Meme is the first meme coin ever created on the Bitcoin network, and that's it. That's really it. Okay, so it does not have strong fundamentals at all. It's basically going to be reliant on novice and new market participants coming into the market and buying it. You know, this is a game of musical chairs, the game of the greater fool, however you want to coin that term. It's very, very illiquid. Currently has basically no liquidity. Let's see what the liquidity over the last 7 days has been. Where can we even find meme? I don't know even where it is. It's really low down. If you're looking at ordinals, by the way, stay in the top 10. Top 10 only. Don't go much further than that. Just again for liquidity issues. But yeah, I mean, it's nothing. These don't even register. So it's had quite literally zero volume. So when the volume is zero, the price is zero. So the price of this, even though it says it's $33, its real price is $0. Already got a break. So, you know, we're seeing a sentiment shift come into the ordinal space, the BRC20 space. It's looking good. Again, above the 7 here on the daily. But we need to get above this wave for me to be really convinced. Yeah, it wasn't until we kind of got above the wave that we really had a nice rally. Currently getting rejected at the bear market wave right here. So yeah, that's pretty much it as far as BRC20s. I don't want to go too deep into the BRC20 rabbit hole. All right, I think we're going to close it out there. Anything else I wanted to take a look at? Nope. In future shows, we will start talking about Cardano. We'll start talking about XRP. We'll start talking about, you know, a lot of the Bitcoin Cash, stuff like that. When we start to see Bitcoin dominance go to the downside. So if this is your first time joining in, hit the subscribe button. We're going to keep you up to date with every single shift in the market. We're going to keep you abreast of the best times to buy, the best times to sell. Buy the bottom, sell the tops. Never miss a move with Black Box. Don't forget to check the links down below to get into the free Discord server. And until next time, please trade safe. It is a jungle out there. Peace.